Hello. Hey, it's been a minute. I haven't posted any videos in quite some time at this point. I think it's been about a month. And the last thing I posted was Game of Thrones, and that was like an hour long, and that was a lot. I haven't posted in a minute because between work and school, like end of the semester, I'm just tired and exhausted and frankly busy, and I honestly just really haven't had the energy or like willpower to sit through and film a review. So but today I figure honestly because I don't. It's been a while since I've seen some of the things that I wanted to talk about, so I might just kind of combine a couple reviews into um kind of into one video. Um, yeah, just to get my like overall thoughts and stuff. Just but again, like, 'cause I don't really remember every single detail about some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about today. So a lot of it's mostly two main things that I wanted to talk about today. Um, so like yeah, I figure. Oops, sorry. Um, Sorry. Anyway, so but yeah, so I figured we just kind of yap for a little bit, and leave it at that. So kind of first things first. The first thing I want to talk about was the new Super Mario Bros. Movie, Super Mario Galaxy. I think it's not as horrible as people are saying, but it wasn't as good as the first one, right? So like, because obviously you can have. I don't really like it when people say like, "Oh, it's a kids movie, it can't be good," because there's plenty of like kids projects out there that are really good. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender is, I know like four or five people that's their favorite show. Like that's and it's also one of mine. It's a great show. You know what I mean? Or Gravity Falls is up there as well. I thought even the Minecraft movie, as much shit as that movie gets, because again, it's just like fun, like it's just goofy fun. You know, like obviously it's not like a super serious film, but it was still really entertaining and really enjoyable. And I thought it actually had a couple of like really good actual moments in the movie, right? So like again, you can have kids movies also be really good pieces of art, you know, just kind of geared more towards a childlike audience, right? And so I think with this movie, it's kind of painful to say because the first Mario I thought was actually pretty solid. This one is just a kids movie, yeah. It's one of my boys. Hey bud, hi. Yeah. Did you just eat? He looks like he just ate. Um, but yeah, I thought it was very much very this is a kids movie, right? And the reason that I say that is because it's not necessarily like there were a couple instances where I feel like they tried to either do something a little bit more like profound or stuff having more than one meaning, but they essentially gave up on any kind of like character depth, and it was a very it literally was like Bowser Jr. steals princess. Let's go get the princess. And all of the like the obstacles and stuff that they encountered on their journey, um it was like literally like, as you know, the Screen Rant guy says, it was barely an inconvenience. Like it was like they introduce a new problem, fix it right away, introduce a new problem, fix it right away, introduce a new problem, fix it right away, you know. And it just wasn't very like, it just wasn't very good in that regard. I think that there are a couple of scenes that I thought was like super entertaining. Basic plot of the movie, right? Bowser Jr. takes Rosalina because he wants to impress his dad, and then he and his dad can kind of start to like build the empire that they talked about ever since like they were a kid. Um, yeah, so like anyway, but yeah, essentially like it just wasn't very good. Like super basic. There were a couple scenes that were super entertaining though. Like I think when Bowser first appears on screen in this movie, as like that prisoner when he shrunk down at the mushroom, you know, Peach's, you know, castle. That was awesome. That was so entertaining. I think Jack Black in this role is so good. He's incredible. So I really enjoyed that. I don't love Chris Pratt as Mario. I actually thought the first Mario movie, where he did Mario, I actually thought he was pretty solid. This movie, I don't know why I felt a little bit different. I thought Luigi in this movie was a little off as well. Um, yeah, but there was no character growth or development at all. It literally was just like a video. There were a couple of cool scenes in here too, where obviously same as the first one, they had a couple of like movie scenes that really mimicked the like personality of the game, like action sequences that are very much geared towards like, oh, this is, you know, Mario doing a level. And like I thought they were cool, but I shouldn't think it was anything particularly special. And then yeah, I mean, basic plot: get Rosalina back. They try to do that one something kind of profound and be like, oh, we're like long lost sisters. And again, it was just like, oh, they learn they're long lost sisters. There's no emotion attached to that. It's just like, oh, this is really cool. next thing that happens, you know? So I think it was one of those, this was a real instance of there's not a lot of substance. It's just a lot of stuff happening, and it's just a lot of like quick attention grabby stuff. And even some of the cameos were just not as good as last time, you know? Like Star Fox was, again, I don't know why they leaked it in a trailer beforehand, like spoil the surprise, but yeah, yeah, it's pretty much how I feel. So it wasn't bad or anything. It's still super entertaining. I thought it was like a fun movie to watch. Like it was still super enjoyable. It wasn't like very good. I don't think it's as bad as I've seen people say. Like some people are dogging on this movie. I don't think it's that bad, but it wasn't very good. Like it wasn't much better either, you know. So it's kind of my all encompassing thoughts there. The second thing that I wanted to get into was Everything Everywhere All at Once. So that's a movie that came out a little while ago. Didn't see it at the time. Saw it saw it pretty recently. And I really enjoyed it. Actually had a really good time watching it. I thought it was really good. I think I only have one complaint for the movie, I guess. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So basic premise of Everything Everywhere All at Once is there is a family, so a mom, dad, daughter, right? The mom, who I actually really didn't like at first. Essentially, you kind of get the feeling that she resents her husband for the fact that they ran away together when they were younger, ran to the States to kind of start their own laundromat, and they own their own laundromat business, right? But she essentially, I think the whole point is she isn't where she believes she could be in life or whatever. If he or the life that they built together wasn't kind of holding her back or dragging her down. And then she kind of imposes those beliefs on her daughter as well. Kind of like you need to do this, you have to do this, kind of upholding her strict Asian parent like household beliefs from when she was a kid on her daughter, right? Like her daughter has a girlfriend and she's like, you can't tell that to your grandpa because he won't accept you, kind of thing, you know? And you can tell that it's kind of a bit of like she's very disgruntled because she's like, this isn't where I could be right now. And so she kind of grows and, you know, has resentment for her husband because of that fact. And then in the same vein, kind of like, is like, yeah, again, like I kind of just said, like imposing those kind of beliefs on her daughter, and is pretty, you know, harsh when it comes to speaking to her daughter, you know, kind of like you have to do this, when it's like, I just want to figure out who I'm supposed to be, you know? And so the idea of the movie is out of nowhere, she's going essentially, I believe it's because if I remember right, they're late on some kind of tax bracket thing for the IRS, and they're sitting down at the desk with they're going to like, I don't know the name, like the IRS building that kind of handles those taxes, you know, and they're trying to work them out with the lady there, right? And so while they're in the elevator, her husband becomes a different person and is like, hey, listen, we need your help to save the fate of the multiverse. And she's like, oh my God, what? And she's like slowly learning as the reality shift. And it's really cool. It's really cool because essentially kind of how it works is like, once you have the ability to, you can kind of tap into and become a different you in the multiverse, right? So it's like, and you can learn and acquire their skills and then bring yourself back to your body, right? So she goes through, like, as she's kind of learning what's happening in the world, they're like, oh, you need kung fu? Here, let's find you a universe nearby that has you with kung fu. So then she would travel to that universe, inhabit the body of the version of her that had the kung fu. She would retain the skills, and then she would travel back to her universe and her own body, and then she would gain those skills and be able to fight. And I actually thought that was really unique and like a really interesting way for the multiverse to kind of be a thing, because like I'm kind of multiversed out from Marvel, to be honest, in the MCU, so I think this was a really, really unique perspective and take on it, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, basic plot of the universe is her daughter, or a different version of her daughter, became super duper powerful and like fractured, and so she experiences everything everywhere all at once, always, right? So she's now wreaking havoc on these people who are trying to like keep the universes intact, if I remember right. And what kind of ends up happening a little bit is like, the lot of the fight sequences are so entertaining and done so well, right? Oh, and another really interesting aspect that I liked, in order to make a universe jump for skills, it'll tell you have to do a random action or something like that in order for you to travel the universe, acquire the skills, and come back to like make a universe jump. And then this is one scene where this is like probably the scene where I was like, bro, what is happening? Um, in order to get the fighting skills you need, they had to literally shove an object up their ass to transfer and get the skills back so they could fight. Super interesting, and then like, it was a pretty comedic scene, and I actually really thought it was like fun. Um, and yeah, so it ends up she learns that it's a different version of her daughter, and she keeps trying to say like, why are you doing what you're doing? And then she finally like has this revelation where she's like, towards the end, she's like, I experience everything everywhere all at once, like name of the movie. And it's this really awesome sequence where she kind of like she sees all of these different, like, as she's going through the movie, she sees all these different lives in different universes where she has these different things. And at the beginning of the movie, you can clearly see that there's a lot of receipts from money spent of her, karaoke machine, doing martial arts, doing stuff like that, where because the husband is like, oh, you think you're gonna make it big, right? And the husband's like, I feel like you're not happy anymore. You pulled away from me, and because of that resentment, she's like, well, I could have been so much more if I didn't run away with you, kind of thing. And then her daughter, who the multiverse variant daughter, is trying to suck her away into this black hole of nothingness because she's like, I'm everywhere all of the time because I'm experiencing all this stuff at the same time. Nothing else matters anymore. And then the mom kind of goes through this like realization that like that's why where we're at matters so much. And it's, I actually think, a really beautiful message, right? Like there's so much shit happening all the time everywhere. You could experience 1,000 different lifetimes, but like what matters the most is that you make the most of who you are right now and the people that you're around right now. And I think it's actually such a beautiful message, and I think it's such a fun movie and a really creative way to kind of throw that message out there. And so then, yeah, the main character, apologizes, like at the end, kind of, just kind of accepts and comes to terms with everything. Um, and it was just a really cool sequence. You know what I mean? She starts to really like liven up again and be very present with where she is and kind of learn and understand that like human to human aspect of like, no, you are, because she throughout this journey experienced dozens or hundreds or thousands of lives right at the end there, and then she's realizing, dude, no, everyone experiences their own life individually, and these people have chosen to share some of theirs with me, and that matters a lot. And I think it's just such a beautiful movie in that regard. The only complaint that I have is I think the movie dragged a little bit. Like I think it like phenomenal all the way through for the most part. I just think that kind of towards the end, there's this last action sequence where she's kind of really being able to kind of show everyone what they need or want, right? And like give everyone a lot of the closure that they need for these certain events. But like that scene drags on so long. I remember I was watching with my partner and I was like, dude, it's still going. Like at first I was like, this is awesome. And then I was like, okay, it's been like 10 minutes and we're still at this one scene. So I thought it kind of dragged, but overall my thoughts are like, it was a really good movie. I'd probably rate it like a good solid 8 out of 10. I also would kind of say the same for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Not an 8 out of 10, but I would probably give it a 7, maybe a 6, as low as a 6. That movie really is like, it is just a kids movie through and through. And I feel like if you're looking for some level of depth and emotion, you're not gonna find it there. So if you're just looking to be entertained by pure nostalgia bait, I actually thought it was just like super entertaining. So maybe I'll give it a 6. And then, yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once I thought was a good solid 8 out of 10. A couple of things that I didn't really like, but for the most part, I did still think it was phenomenal, and I thought the acting and all the performances were incredible. The action was so fun and entertaining to watch, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. So, that's pretty much it for the movie aspect. The only other thing that I kind of wanted to rant about is I'm not done with it yet, but I'm a personal trainer, and I was recommended a book by 2 separate clients that are both frequent travelers, and they were like, dude, you got to get on this. And I was like, 2 different people recommended a book to me. It's got to be a great book. So it's called Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I'm about halfway through the first book. I got it a couple days ago, and I really enjoy it. I'm not going to get too much into the book just because, like, I haven't finished it, obviously, and it's more just kind of like my initial, thoughts. I'm about halfway. It's really good. It's essentially about this guy who finds himself outside at like 2 a.m. on a random winter night, with his girlfriend's cat, essentially, because she jumped out the window. And then the entire earth like everything with a roof. So even if you were staying like underneath a box or a car, unless you were standing out in the open, not underneath any kind of like man-made object, everything flattened and everything crushed. So billions of people across the world died in an instant, and these aliens essentially turned the world and all those resources into an underground dungeon crawl. So it's literally a dungeon crawler video game in real life. In a book form, and it's really, really good. A lot of them recommended like the audiobook to me. I'm just not an audiobook person. I'm really not. So I picked up the paperback, and I really love it. I really enjoy it. I think I'd recommend it so far from what I've read, and I've been told it just keeps getting better, and everything that I've seen from it is pretty solid. I think it balances a lot of what's really good with like a lot of silliness and humor, and like a lot of like the goofiness of what's happening, with all those like with also a lot of the serious impacts. Like a prime example of this is there, and the cat learns to speak, by the way. Minor spoiler. But essentially, like the first other person that they interact with on this like global scale dungeon crawl, they find her dead. And the main character is sitting there, and it's all through the main character's lens, and he's sitting there and he's like, dude, imagine how scared she must have been. And it's like alone. And the thing is too, it's like for the most part he's in shock from the most part of this book, because it takes place where I'm at. He's only been this is like his third day of experiencing this whole thing, and more stuff keeps happening every single day. So he's not really processing a ton, but those bits and pieces of that processing you get is pretty intense, because he's like, dude, no, the world is gone. And so I think it's really good. It's really funny. Also, it hits a lot of those emotional notes pretty well. And for the most part, yeah, I recommend it. But I think, yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about today. So, bye.